Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Donovan.
And I'm Jordan.
Join us as we go into the pages.
Podcast! Welcome to another week of Into the Pages as we go into Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, chapter 34 through 36.
Saying it that way makes me feel like we're only reading 2 chapters, but it's 3.
34, 35, 36.
Yes.
Recap last week.
Yep, last week was getting into some good stuff. They were going to go smack the machine with a rock. Excellent planning.
They have a plan to see if they're actually on the same planet or if they're different planets, and we do find out that they are on the same planet. But it's kind of interesting how it's weird how it's working out. And my constant dilemma, the whole time I'm like reading a story, I'm like, man, my prediction is freaking on point. This is going to happen. And then like, not even close to what I predicted, and it's still so good.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. I don't think anyone could have predicted this. We weren't even close.
No. It's kind of neat. We still have a little bit of growth in characters in this late stage, which I think is nice. We see it mainly in Painter because he shows kindness and empathy to Liyun.
Which I thought was surprising. He's a better person than I would have been because I would hate her forever.
Right? I'm like, I hate you always.
Yeah, seriously, like, you're such a B word. I don't like you, so you just
Yes.
go away.
But he's basically like, whatever I do, if I succeed, it's because of you. And makes Liyun cry, and Yumi's like, that was nice.
Oh gosh.
But they got Liyun to give them a map, and Painter uses his drawing skills. We find out that the cities that Masaka had, or I guess the circles that Masaka had found line up perfectly with the cities in Torio, which is the name of Yumi's planet. Hoyd kind of steps in at this point, and he explains that due to the unique circumstances of each area, the whole place, Yumi's nation, I guess, and Painter's is only like 50 miles.
Yeah, it blew me away how small they were. I kind of pictured it was pretty big because Painter talked about how they had like trains or whatever that would travel to other places. So I was like, oh, it seems like it's a normal sized planet, but
I guess in the dark, I guess when everything's so pitch black, you can't see it. Maybe distances are skewed and you're not actually going that far, or so, I don't know. But there you have it. The plus side of this, though, is that they are on the same planet.
yeah. So that opens up the door, I think, to an easier possibility. Because when we were thinking they were on different planets, we're kind of like, how the heck is like Yumi and Painter going to continue this like relationship they've started to develop, whatever you want to call it, if they're on different planets. But now they just have to figure out how to get rid of the smogginess, whatever the shroud is made of.
Get rid of the shroud, or I have some predictions.
That they won't be together.
I'm just like thinking more about like what the shroud is, and I think I am convinced that Yumi's world is all an illusion. Because how else would it survive in the shroud? But there's like sun, but I'm so confused with the heat. Unless they can trick her into feeling heat, it doesn't really make much sense to me. And so
Maybe it'll all come to light when it more describes, when more light is shed on what the heck is going on.
yeah, seriously.
But Yumi, as you kind of predicted, is like, we need a better plan. We can't just go smack the machine with a rock.
Because I was just picturing like this Yoki Haijo just bursting into a tent with a rock and being like, like smashing it. I was like, that's not gonna work.
You know what I just picture is, I love how animes can be like this super serious looking, super amazing and badass, and when people are like pissed off or they're doing something cool, but then they can really be really silly and stupid at the same time, even for like the same anime. And what I think this picture of this is like literally just like an anime Yumi going and doing nothing. If I was any sort of an animator, which I'm not, I would animate it. But I like the plan they go with.
Yeah,
Tell
Yumi.
the truth.
Yumi says that she's, as the Yokihijo, the Yokihijo, she is the ultimate authority and can make demands as she pleases. And so her plan is she orders Li Yun to gather the townspeople on the premise that the spirits told her to destroy the machine. And then Li Yun's like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yes, I am sure, and I'm well aware of the consequences." And then Che Yung is kind of like, "Ha, I knew it." And then they gather a posse. they get the town bailiff and his strongest men, and they all have a bunch of hammers, and they go to the tent. Which normally what you would expect in this moment is for the scientists to do one of two things. One, like whip out some revolvers, and there's like an old-fashioned Wild Wild West shootout.
Yeah.
Two is to try to be all wily and talk their way out of it, but their reaction isn't what we would expect. They don't seem scared, and Painter describes them as seeming more resigned and maybe a little annoyed. And so it's like, what are these scientists gonna do? And
yeah, that's almost like the thing, like, hey, run away because there's something going on you don't know.
Yes, and then one of the scientists pulls out a box and clicks a button, and it's not apparent what happens immediately to Painter and to us as the reader. And Painter kind of still demands, he's like, "Bring me the thing," and he's like, "Why wasn't anyone moving?" Like, the plan was, if the scientists don't cooperate, then we're going to go after the machine. But the scientists actually bring out the machine, and they like start turning it on. And then Painter's like, "Go get it!" And he looks at the other people, and they're just standing still. They're not moving, and actually start to dissolve and turn into nightmares.
Yes. So that's kind of our first, like, brain cells just over the wall because that little bit of information. But the second little bit of mind-blowing information is that freaking Li Yun. Of course, it's Li Yun, who is none other than the freaking stable nightmare that has been plaguing them this entire time.
Yep.
For the love. Which doesn't answer. It begs more questions. Like, how the flip, what, how, and like that they're all nightmares and crap, because even at one point, Painter gets the rock and smacks the lead scientist dude with it. He's just like, whatever, and he turns into a nightmare too. But
yeah, all the scientists turn to nightmares. All the people they brought with them turns to nightmares. And Yumi, she doesn't quite turn into a nightmare. She is kind of like fuzzing, but it's not clear right away if it's just because she's in her spirit form.
Yeah, and nothing seems to happen to Painter as he is in Yumi's body.
No, but the tension ramps up because they turn on the machine, and it somehow breaks the connection between Yumi and Painter. But before we get to that, there's a little bit of dialogue between the scientists and Painter, and the scientists kind of clue in that they know a lot more than Painter, because Painter's like, "This is an altered dimension," and they're like, "Oh, how naive you are, like you don't know anything, like that's a nice theory, like good job." Like pat on the head, like obviously alluding that there's something crazier going on. And they also refer to Painter, which I thought made me stop and think, is they refer to him as a descendant of the nomads. They're like, "Oh, you must be a descendant of the nomads." I'm like, the nomads?
Yeah, that's
and so
what
then I started
too.
thinking, like, I wonder if when there was the sunshine, Yumi's cities were the ones that were like there, and then Painter's people just kind of traveled, and that's how part of how they became separated when whatever happened, and why Painter's people are out in the shroud and Yumi's. We don't know if everyone in Yumi's world is an illusion, but at least everyone immediately around Yumi is. And I bet if Li Yun is a nightmare, I guess I should say nightmare instead of illusion. I guess if Li Yun is a nightmare, then I bet you Che Yung and Huan Jie are as well.
It sounds like it. They didn't specifically say, but like everyone else is turning into a nightmare, so it would make sense that they are. I had a few questions when I learned that Li Yun was the stable nightmare. One is, how in the heck was she moving? How do they travel? Are they able to? Is Isn't there something that prevents people from traveling, or is it just like people?
I don't know, because all we know is that Masaka can't enter. I mean,
So I guess that would make sense because she's not a nightmare. So Li Yun can, because whoever erected this barrier lets the nightmares.
Because at this point we don't even know what the barrier is.
Yeah,
because she doesn't describe it as like a rock wall or like anything like that. It's probably more of like something that, I don't know, somehow blocks things. And then we get to, they turn on the machine. There's kind of like a tearing sensation, and Painter is flung away and forced into his body, and it sounds like quite the painful reunion. Yeah, because his body apparently stays in Yumi's form.
Yeah.
So when he hits, he just feels like
he
hears like what sounds like tearing leather. So it's his skin stretching and popping joints and cracking, and I'm like,
that's gotta be so painful. Yeah. Yes, didn't it say he screamed out?
Yeah, I think so. Which I guess this answers one question, because one question we had was, when this is all over, is he just going to kind of be stuck in...
I guess he got back in time to put his body right.
Yes, which is a relief, because I would be freaking out if I was
I would be too. If you came back and you were a woman, I'd be like, no.
So yeah, and that's how chapter 34 ends. So getting right into chapter 35. Okay.
I also... We have more questions, of course. So many questions, but I'm wondering, before we get to the next chapter, like, what is Yumi? Is she also some sort of spirit?
So
I don't think she's a nightmare.
I have some theories about this, and I guess I'll kind of jump around. I guess we don't have to go exactly in sequential order when we talk about these chapters. So there's a couple things that got me really thinking. So first was what I already mentioned, the nomad comment, where it seemed like obviously there was two different peoples, and for some reason, some were in the shroud and some were not in the shroud that we know of. I don't know how many people are actually people in Yumi's world.
Right.
And also the scholar mentions that the spirits specifically anchored Yumi to another soul so that she wouldn't forget. And we realize in the beginning of chapter 35 is pretty much word for word chapter, whatever the first chapter Yumi has.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like it is.
It's her starting over the day. It's her hoping that she can convince Li Yun to let her go to the Torio festival. And it's like almost word for word, except there's like Yumi kind of pauses a couple times and is like, something's
She's
weird.
Like experiencing like a deja vu type of feeling is what I kind of thought of.
When she takes her ritual bath, she kind of looks at the shore and she's like is expecting to see someone there, Painter. But then she's kind of like, oh no, that's ridiculous. And then she's kind of going about her thing. And then she's going to do a ritual, and at one point Li Yun's like, I won't be able to be here tonight because I have to go take care of someone. I don't remember what it is or why. Obviously implying that she's going to go in nightmare form and go F up Painter.
Yes.
But she doesn't know, so obviously Li Yun's being manipulated. And also further, the scholars made it clear that the machine is in charge.
Which is... more freaking questions. But I can't wait to find out if the machine is in fact somehow sentient, like maybe it's some sort of AI machine or something, or if there's like someone else who is controlling the machine and relaying messages to the people he's trying to control through the machine. There's so many different ways this could go, but I can't wait to know what the heck.
Yeah, seriously. But this distinction between like the spirits did something, and then there are nightmares. And it makes me wonder, is there some sort of conflict or struggle or war or something between spirits and nightmares? Like, are nightmares corrupted spirits? Or
maybe it's it's the classic thing, light to the dark. Maybe the spirits are like light beings who are like, they help you because they'll turn themselves into tools to farm or whatever. But the nightmares are like, we want to eat you.
That's like the first half of the chapter is kind of that with Yumi. And then it cuts to Painter, and Painter's understandably really frantic. And his plan was he grabbed rocks and went to the shroud and was trying to stack them to make it retreat like it did for Yumi. But he quickly realizes that it wasn't the stacking by itself. It was Yumi that was doing it.
Yeah.
And without his connection, he couldn't do anything about it. And he's discovered by Akane, which was super awkward. I was hoping he would go to design.
That would have been a better move, I think.
I think he's just panicking and like freaking.
Yeah, definitely not thinking very clearly.
Yeah.
This brought up something to me that I was kind of thinking, like, okay, if Akane knew Yumi was in trouble, she'd like want to help, and I'm sure like Toji and all the others would want to help, but would they even believe Painter? Be like,
well, right off the bat, Akane is very accusatory.
Yeah, she immediately attacks him.
She sees Painter kind of freaking out, and she's like, "What did you do to Yumi? What did you do?" Just like automatically assuming that because Yumi isn't there, he's done something terrible.
Yeah, and this goes back to the thing where like, I think they overreacted to the lie. I don't disagree that his lie was a bad one and a big one, but like, why do they assume that he is suddenly become like a murderer or something, and because Yumi's not with him, which she's never seen Yumi with him, obviously, since we know, but she immediately is just like, what did you do to her? It's like, okay, chill the F out. It doesn't even bother, but I like what Painter did, because I thought it would be pointless to sit there and talk to Akane, because she's just so rooted into like, Painter is this awful, horrid, evil person, because he wronged her and her friends and stuff like that. So I would know what he would tend to and be like, screw you, run away.
So he runs away, and that's how chapter 35 ends. So it was a really, really short chapter.
Yes.
Jumping into chapter 36, Painter, his secondary plan is he went back to his apartment and he got the picture that Yumi drew. I don't know if we mentioned this, but kind of a brief recap.
I think we did, yeah, but
they were kind of reminiscing, like, oh, what when we solve this, we're never going to see each other again. And so she paints a picture, or draws a picture for Painter to remember her by. So he goes and grabs that.
I think we talked about it a little bit, because the picture she drew was like them almost touching hands. I think it was when they were on the Ferris wheel.
Their hands were overlaid in the picture, at least.
Okay,
that's how it was described.
Because I'm pretty sure they didn't touch in the actual life. But anyway, that was the picture, whatever they did.
And then his plan is to he once he gets all that stuff and the rocks to stack, he goes to the last place the nightmare attacked them, at the playground, because he knows that nightmares regularly go back to where they last fed for whatever reason, whether it's because they're seeking an easy meal or they're just following habit and going to where they last were. But his prediction was right, and Leon shows up in nightmare form. And he's actually able to get his attention. It starts to try to attack him, and he yells out, he's like, "Leon!" And she like kind of pauses and like looks at him and starts going after him again, and he starts stacking, and then it pauses again, and then is like, "I remember." You should hear the audiobook. I was like, dang.
I was like, wow, that's a really specific way to do that. That's creepy. But so I wonder if she stopped because he was stacking because it like reminded her of Yumi, or because of what stacking is in like Yumi's part of the world, where like he's stacked to summon spirits.
Yes. So this is what we learn a lot from this conversation that then ensues. First, we learn that Yumi has been trapped in a groundhog situation where every time she goes to sleep, she's made to forget, and then she relives the day. And that's been going on for 1,700 years.
So she definitely is something different, because obviously no human without something is going to live that long.
Yes, we learned that, and so we're like, okay, what the freaking frack? And then
that's a dang good way to put it. Frickin' frack is going on.
And then I have a theory. All my theories have been outlandish, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's fun to theorize.
Yes, it is.
Now I'm theorizing because I don't remember what shard it was. That killed Virtuosity, but Virtuosity had a battle near this planet, and when was killed, her essence went to places, and I suspect that Yumi is the embodiment of that surviving essence. I think that I don't know if she necessarily is the person that was the shard. You know how like Sazed picked up the power and he's like a person, but he has the power. I think that she's actually like the essence of it formed into a person.
That would make sense.
And that's why I think that's why her investiture was super off the charts.
And
she's like the only one with investiture.
Yeah, that's what gets me, is like how she's the only one. Maybe we haven't met the other Yoki Haiju, but they don't do anywhere near what she does. So
But now that goes with the next part of my theory, that I think Yumi is the only actual living being in the illusion she's living. I think everyone else that she encounters, everything else she's told, is captive spirits that are made to perpetuate and make realistic her prison.
So do you think she's the one doing it, or there's someone else manipulating it?
No, because when Lee Yoon is talking, she mentions that the machine controls everything, controls the nightmares, controls they do. And when they come to Painter's cities, it's because the machine let them go, and they're leaving to try to remember what it was like to be alive. And Lee Yoon even is like, I want so badly to be a person again.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't even think that deeply when she said that. I was just like, oh, she just wants to go back to her world and be Lee Yoon, not this nightmare.
No, and then I think that answered our questions of like why the nightmares are coming is because I think that when something happened during the battle of these shards, when Virtuosity was killed, that her remnants and maybe part of what she was fighting, I don't remember if it was odium or ambition or something else. I don't remember who it was that attacked and killed Virtuosity. But I think that part of the thing she was fighting imprisoned the essence of Virtuosity and is making that prison a reality. And when that happened, everyone that was in that city died, and their spirits are essentially enslaved, which was why the spirits were like, free us. We want to be free from this machine. Like, we want to live again.
That would be really interesting. That'd be crazy. Crazy insane. My mind would be leaking out of my ears because I'm just like, whoa.
Yes. And then Painter's people were apparently nomads, and they've just over 1,700 years turned into what they are now. This doesn't quite explain where the Heon lines are and what the heck they're coming from. Because it's obviously not just electricity, so there's some sort of power that they can use. I'm still not able to reconcile that.
Maybe that's more like focused and messenger or something. But they're somehow harvesting without realizing what they're doing.
Yes, but bottom line, how I thought about how this whole thing works is what Lee Yoon is experiencing is essentially Brandon Sanderson's version of the Matrix. Except Yumi is the only human, and everyone else is just a computer program or a spirit forced to fill a certain role.
Wow, that would be really cool. Maybe he's just going down the line because we got like Tress was like, oh my gosh, I just lost it. Princess Bride.
Oh yeah.
Was Frugal Wizard like anything? Not really.
I think he said, but I don't remember.
I don't know if that was based on anything, but maybe this is based off of like the Matrix.
It totally had that. Once we learned all this, I was like, "This is freaking the Matrix," like full on. Because it was like inside the Matrix, it's like normal, happy world, and outside the Matrix, it's like total post-apocalyptic.
That makes too much sense. I don't trust it. We're thinking it's the Matrix. It's gonna be like, nope.
So I was like, Brandon, you son of a bitch. And
But I would rather live in the Matrix than this because she just gets her mind reset every day. I'd rather live in the Matrix and have a full life.
I know. At least that Groundhog Day, she's not aware that it's Groundhog Day.
Yes, that would suck.
Like every other Groundhog version, like you're aware that your days are repeating.
Yeah.
But she's like has no freaking idea. But I think she's starting to have a hint. I think her connection with Painter hasn't quite worn off, and she'll start to slowly remember. Yes. And then we see the next part of Painter's plan, he pulls out the paper and says, give this to Yumi. And then Lee Yoon, the nightmare, says, like, when I transform between forms, I can't remember anything. Like, pretty much werewolf syndrome. Like, you turn into a werewolf, have no idea what the frick you did. And then you're just kind of like, oh, what the crap? Why is there blood everywhere? Like, what the F?
Does she wake up with, like, spirit goo on her? Whatever residue you might get for feeding off someone's nightmares, maybe that's what she has all over her.
Yes. So to help her remember, he says, he pretty much uses trigger words. He's like, you must do your service as the warden of the Yoki Hijo and give her this. And then it kind of like kind of makes her think. But then she issues a pretty dire warning.
Yeah, holy cow.
And she's like, I was sent here to kill you. And because I failed, the machine is going to send hundreds more that are just as powerful as me to destroy this entire city. And he's done it, and the machine's done it before. And then she mentions the city that was destroyed by nightmares.
Yeah,
like,
we learned about that earlier. That there was like, hundreds of years ago, there was a city that was destroyed by tons of stable nightmares.
And it turns out that the reason that city was destroyed is because spirits had reached out to someone in that city and tried to tell them the truth, and so the machine destroyed the city.
Yeah, so that makes me think this is not the first time Yumi has gone through this. She just doesn't remember the other ones.
I didn't think about that.
And
that is true.
And I wonder if like the reason this one is so much more special is because she developed a much stronger connection with Painter than anyone else that she might have been connected to.
That's a good point. That'd be kind of cool if that was the case.
It'd also be different because, Brandon just likes to be like, he's master curveball thrower.
I know, it's great. I have a love-hate relationship because I feel so stupid when my predictions are like so obviously wrong, but at the same time I'm like, it was so good.
Oh gosh.
And her warning is like further underlined when she's just like flee and pray.
Yeah.
Because like
it's just like that's it. It's like you're not gonna because how many people of the Dream Watch does it take to take down one stable nightmare? Hundreds? No, forget it.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane, and I'm really interested to see what's gonna happen. I bet what's gonna happen. I'm getting back. I love predicting things, even though I'm always freaking wrong. But I guess I should say I hope or I predict that he's somehow gonna bring Yumi to his world as Yumi. And then right before the nightmares attack, and then Yumi and Painter are going to go talk to his friends and be like, we're about to be attacked. We have to band together. And they're going to it's going to be this full-on battle, and they're going to be working with the Dream Watch and the team.
Maybe they'll be on the Dream Watch after all, because the Dream Watch by themselves won't be enough to fight hundreds.
And then they'll be fighting the nightmares, and they'll be like, we can't keep them. We have to go destroy the machine. And then they'll journey into the shroud, and it'll be like Painter and maybe, for sure, Painter and Yumi, maybe some of the friends.
Yeah.
And then they'll go...
There is one thing that I really hope doesn't happen, is I hate the hive mind mentality type of thing. Like, destroy this one thing, and then thousands of evil things are just destroyed. It's like, that's too easy. So I hope that doesn't happen. I hope I'm hoping maybe if they do just have to destroy the machine, that at least the nightmares will stop getting orders to go attack. I mean, they'll disperse or something. But
they'll stay nightmares.
But they'll still be like nightmares who will attack people if they're given the chance.
They'll just lose their cohesion and just kind of run back into the shroud.
Yeah, I don't know though, because if they're as powerful as Liyun, then that makes me think that they're still have some ability to think and communicate, so they're not just stupid mindless drones.
They always kind of painted the nightmares as more animalistic, like they kind of just attack and go crazy. They don't really have a plan. They're not like a horde of thinking things that have a king that tells them what to do. So I bet what will happen is they'll destroy the machine, and they'll kind of chase off the nightmares, but the nightmares will always be a threat, and then maybe they'll go hunt them or something, or it'll just end this isn't over, and then it'll end, and Brandon will never write another book, and we'll all die.
That would be interesting. This makes me, I wonder if he plans to do anything else with these books, with these secret projects. They all kind of seem like they're just standalone, so he's probably not going to do anything with.
Yeah. Especially, I think they all ended kind of happily ever after. They kind of ended the similar way that I felt like Elantris and Warbreaker ended. Like part of a greater whole, but this is kind of what we're getting.
It's the only part of the story we're going to see from them.
Yeah. Which kind of sucks, but at the same time I'm fine with, because if it's a good story, then it's over, then that's good.
So we talk about another thing Liyun brought up is that the machine apparently is what feeds the nightmares. Yeah,
somehow it's created this army of nightmares by feeding them. Maybe that's kind of what made me think about my earlier thoughts. Is there some sort of is the machine feeding spirits to nightmares?
It's got to be something like that.
I kind of just pictured a mad scientist capturing humans and feeding it to a zombie to make a super zombie, and then so it's kind of like
that's what it feels like.
I kind of think that a nightmare is a spirit that's just kind of turned wicked.
I don't know, man. My prediction is that the nightmares and the spirits are still separate somehow. Like there's some difference between them that makes the nightmares nightmare and the spirit's a spirit. Yeah, something like that. Two sides of the same coin. Light and dark, whatever.
And maybe that's what the shroud is. Maybe the shroud is the nightmares pressing down in the little spots of sunshine are the spirits resisting, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But there's still so many things that just don't make sense, because then, like, why are the nightmares like the people in this world? Why are they there living normal lives? And if this really is like a Matrix type thing, why, who is doing this to Yumi? Why is the machine doing this to Yumi, or whoever? I don't get it.
That's why I think it has to go back to I'm very convinced that Yumi is some piece of virtuosity that survived. Whether it's virtuosity herself, just in a weakened state, or if it's just like a piece of her essence. Like
she's the same thing as like Odium, but on a smaller level, like where like Odium, virtuosity, and it's got shards of.
Because what I'm thinking of is like, if you think back to Mistborn, when Ruin and Preservation died, their power was there and Sazed grabbed them. Or when dang, what's the guy's name in Stormlight?
Odium?
No, Taravangian.
Oh, Taravangian.
When Taravangian tricked Szeth to kill Odium and then took the power, I don't know if that's the form that Yumi's in. Like, I don't know if she's a person that has the power of a shard, because Dasein was clear that her investiture is as strong as an Elantrian, but not as strong as a shard.
Oh, okay,
so I don't think that's why I think it's more of like her, like a piece of her that survived.
Yeah, she got a piece of a piece type of thing.
Yeah. So it's like it is virtuosity, but not all of virtuosity.
Yeah.
That
would make a lot of sense, because I think Yumi would be even more insane.
Yeah, because if she was a shard, like, there's no way that nightmares could like hold her.
Yeah, so. Man, I'm literally waiting for Yumi to just go like Super Saiyan or something.
I'll be like,
it's like,
or maybe that's what will happen. I forgot that she could absorb nightmares, so maybe Yumi's gonna come and just eat all the nightmares that are attacking the city.
That's true, actually. Maybe she'll devour everyone there, or maybe she'll at least take down the scholars and be like, whoop.
Or maybe she's gonna suck up the whole void, and then she'll become all of virtuosity, and then ascend, and then Painter's gonna become a priest.
Yeah, maybe she'll become like a similar role as Sazed, where she becomes and the next virtuosity type of thing.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
I think that's gonna happen now. I'm getting advanced.
Stupid place to end. We know it's always hard to end chapters. This is why throughout my entire life I've never been able to put books down, because I mean, like, the first part of the book you're like, yeah, I can stop now. In the middle you're like, oh, okay, I can stop. But at this point in the book we're like 75-80% done. This is when I'm like glued until it's over. Like, even if I'm up until like 2 a.m, I was like,
I wish I could show this. I don't know copyright rules and crap, and I'd have to go find it anyway. But there are like TikTok videos and shorts probably on YouTube about like this stuff for Brandon Sanderson's books. It's like how you're just like reading, like, oh yeah, there we go. Suddenly the bank explodes, and they're all and they're all gonna die. And it's like suddenly explodes into craziness, and it's actually really funny. I like what the videos they do, because they'll like react and like drop the book because like jumping and scared because the bank exploded or something. But that's totally how this is going. Like we're at the last 85% in or something like that now.
Even these chapters themselves was like, holy crap. Like, wait. I'm like, wait, Leon's the sable nightmare. Everyone's a nightmare. What the heck's going on?
See, that's what so, classic Sanderson, I guess. That's what's going on.
It reminds me of when I read, I don't know if I told you this before, but I read in his books, Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. Uh-huh. He kind of talks as like the character, I think it is he mentions that one of the author's greatest joys is thinking of all the sleep people are losing reading their books.
I remember him saying that, yeah. Or I think actually you told me that before. I think that's what I'm thinking of, but that's really funny. Sanderson, you evil son of a genius. Oh man, that is hilarious though, because it's freaking true. How many days back in the day, like in junior high and high school, did you go to the bus because you stayed up to 2 in the morning?
I can't tell you how many times I hated my life in junior high school just because I was like reading. It's funny because like we had a lot of rules that were like, oh, no phones on. And I was like, that wasn't my problem. Phones wasn't my problem. Movies, video games. It was like freaking reading, especially when a new book came out. Like I remember staying up so late reading like Eldest and
seriously, because like back in our day, well, even in those times, well, even now, is if we were reading a series that had multiple books, right? And you read the first book, and you're like, oh man, I need the second one, and you have to wait for it. So you just get like super excited, and you just like can't stop reading.
Yeah, exactly. All the late nights with Harry Potter. Like
yeah, and you and I would consider like you and I senior millennials, as I like to think about it, because we didn't grow up like the millennials that most people think about. Like we grew up, we didn't have cell phones, we had TV and a few video games, but we grew up like the first like 12 years of our life, we were outside running around, reading books, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then like I didn't get my first phone until I was 16, and the only reason I got the phone was because our parents wanted to make sure that if I crashed something, I could call somebody and be like, save me.
I remember it was shortly after that they gave me a phone too.
Yeah, and even when we got the phones, we didn't have smartphones. It was a basic phone. We could take pictures, really crap pictures, and text and call, but that was like it.
Yeah.
I think one of our phones may had Snake on it. Like, ooh, yeah.
I remember mine had Sims. It was like a crappy Sims.
Oh, seriously? That's hilarious. That'd be really crappy. I remember thinking, now you're saying like cell phones wasn't your problem. I remember one time I got in trouble and Dad took away my phone. I was like, whatever.
You're like, no big deal.
Because even back then, when we first got our phones, it was like we communicated with each other, like our parents and maybe our siblings. But that was it. We didn't have like friends we would text. I didn't.
I remember one time one of our cousins texted me, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Texting?
Back when the texting wasn't even real. But yeah, I remember that too. It didn't last very long because he couldn't get a hold of me for stuff because he took my phone away. It's like, what did he do? I remember thinking about that. Like, he didn't take away my Xbox, didn't take away my books or something I actually wanted. Took away my phone. My crappy little flip phone.
Anyway, we got off track. I just can't wait for next week. We'll see.
Yes, next week is going to be super exciting. We're going to get even more on this.
How many chapters do we have left?
That's what I was just going to ask. We got 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and the epilogue. Let's do one last thing before we call it.
What?
Pull up the audiobook and let's listen to the voice of Leanne.
When she's the nightmare?
Yeah. Oh, it's Michael Kramer does it too?
Huh?
I thought it was just Kate Redding who did the book.
So how it's done. So I guess it would be interesting, a little factoid for those who don't have the audiobook. Michael Kramer does the readings when they are in Painter's world.
So when it's Painter's point of view, it's Michael.
When they're in Painter's world and Painter's the spirit, Michael Kramer reads.
Right.
And when they're in Yumi's world and Yumi's the spirit, Kate Redding reads.
Yeah, but that isn't that whole, like when they're in Yumi's world, it's told from her perspective, isn't it? That's how I've always read it.
Oh, yeah, because she's the spirit. Yeah, from the spirit's perspective.
Anyway.
That was confused the hell out of me.
Remember, it whispered in Leon's voice.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy, right?
That's pretty creepy. This last chapter is the chapter you shouldn't read while you're camping.
Oh, we also forgot to mention that there's art in this picture.
Oh yes, what it was.
Art in this picture, art in this chapter.
That's a pretty good way to put it, though. There is some art in that picture, but the art is just Leon and Painter conversing just there.
Yes, Leon in her nightmare form.
Right, of course.
Nightmare Leon.
Yeah, she still looks creepy as F.
Yeah, she does. Oh, well, and also another news. We purchased tickets to Dragonsteel.
Oh yes.
This coming November. If any of you are planning to be there, we'll be there also. We don't have a booth or anything.
No, definitely not. We're gonna be a regular.
We're there as regular fans.
Yes. That would be insane if we had a booth there. I'd be intimidated.
Yes. We'll be there. We'll be walking around, and so maybe you guys are going to be there too. It should be pretty cool. They're releasing one of Brandon's books, Defiant.
Yeah, Defiant. It'll be a lot of fun too because there's other authors there. I'm excited to do that. Christopher Paolini.
Yeah, Christopher Paolini is going to be there.
Dan Wells will be there. I think he's got his own booth.
think so too. I think I remember seeing that. There's also a lot of artists, a lot of games.
Yeah. I think they actually, I just reminded me, but they released a schedule. We got to go check that out, see what's
nice.
what the schedule has got.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
That'd be pretty cool. So,
yes. Alrighty, thank you once again all for joining us. We hope you
yes.
had a good time watching us freak the crap out. If you want to continue the conversation, be sure to leave us a comment. All that jazz stuff so we can share some ideas with y'all. But until next time, we'll see you into the pages next week.
Bye. It's over.